Hello and welcome to our Reflections on Ebola program on West Africa Democracy Radio. This program is part of the Wadr Oxfam Monitoring Ebola Response in West Africa project. I'm Sherif Ojang Jr. Thanks for joining us. In today's edition of the program, I'll be hosting the Guinea representative of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Aliou Boli, to take us back to the beginning of the Ebola outbreak in the sub-region. It would be recalled that the outbreak was first discovered in a remote part of Guinea before it spread across the country and then crossed the borders to become a sub-regional and international problem.
Mission d'information, c'est ce qui fait l'actualité depuis plusieurs semaines en Guinée. La fièvre hémorragique Ebola continue à faire des conséquences.
I started by asking Mr. Boli how the whole thing started.
It started in Meliano village in Forest Guinea between Gekedo and Macenta. And it was like when this type of epidemic started in the DRC or elsewhere. But because of the non-functioning of the national epidemic surveillance system, the disease was just discovered and confirmed only 3 months after the first cases have been identified in Meliano village in December 2013. Now you can imagine from December 2013 to March 2014 with this movement inside country but also alongside or cross-border movement, because this village Meliano is just at the border with Sierra Leone. It's the place we call the Kishian Triangle, between Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea.
For businesses?
Yeah, for business, but it's the same community. This border is not it's artificial, let's say, like a lot of borders between our African countries. So people are, it's the same ethnic group, people are doing business, obviously, but also just familial relationship, etc. So
between December and March, nobody knew it was Ebola.
Nobody knew it was Ebola. They were talking at the time about a mysterious disease. Some people was thinking about Lassa fever, others about tuberculosis. Once again, the epidemic surveillance system doesn't work. And people started to move from this Forest Guinea to the rest of the Guinean prefecture districts, including Conakry, but also crossing the border with Sierra Leone, with Liberia. So this is how the virus spread, and there is a particularity that happened in Sierra Leone and Liberia, for example. Mostly it was urban epidemic, while in Guinea, it is a real geographical spread. We had at some time more than 20 district prefecture, that are infected, not at the same time, but one after another, or sometime at the same time, in Conakry. So Conakry is a big city. It was a kind of bomb. We were all feared that it's become like in Liberia and Montserrado, But fortunately, the caseload was very low. It's just 1 or 2 cases here in this neighborhood today, 2 weeks again. And it's mostly because people coming from Forest Guinea or Lower Guinea today for this past 4 months, for example, 3-4 months, people coming from Forekaria, for example, in the border with Sierra Leone, who are fleeing to escape from the contact tracing system, and then they come to the capital.
These are relatives, for example, who have been in contact with Ebola.
Exactly, this is the word. People who have been in contact either with sick patients confirmed later Ebola or dead body, an Ebola dead body. These are the two situations where when someone is in contact, he might develop 90%, unless if the person, sometimes you can, some people are lucky, they can wash their hand,
And after the first case in December, what did it take for the authorities, everybody, to finally to be aware or to know that it was Ebola, this disastrous disease?
As soon as it has been confirmed, 23rd March 2014. Immediately, the government of Guinea obviously takes seriously the situation, call for international support, WHO, and also International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent was also called by our national society, Guinean Red Cross, to give echo to the call for international support. Now, to be honest, the awareness of what is Ebola at that time for the first 6 months was not what it should be, because Ebola is a very serious disease for a country. It's not only an emergency health issue, it's also what we call mass disaster emergency, because it affects the entire society, the economy, even our way of living, our belief, everything. Ebola touched everything. So this was, if we have a lesson to learn, maybe tomorrow, expect it anywhere. But if something like Ebola, it's not only Ebola, because we are having a new emergency virus every year, something like, I don't know, I forget the number exactly, but more than 100 every year. There are new viruses that are appearing in the world. So if one of them is dangerous like Ebola, it's complicated. So if it happens, the government, the civil society, the community leaders, but also the humanitarian workers should gather their strength to do the necessary to stop it in the beginning. Because if we lose the control, or if the awareness is not there and we misunderstand what it is about, or we misconsider, do like it is, I think, a small thing, the consequences are just not measurable.
And some say when this all started in Guinea, for example, one of the reasons that result to the escalation of it is the fact that the communication that was sent out to those areas, these rural areas where there were Ebola, they were confused, and the message from, let's say, humanitarian organizations, from government, from stakeholders wasn't good enough or wasn't consistent, which also confused people in the villages. Do you see that? Would you say that's one of the factors that resulted to the escalation of the Ebola crisis in Guinea in particular?
First of all, let me say that if there is another lesson to learn from this emergency, is that the communication was big failure from the beginning to even early January 2014. It's a failure. We communicated very bad. What was being said to the communities where it started? It is that Ebola is a dangerous disease. It kills you. So do not do this and this and this. There is no drug for Ebola. You see? And then population. Usually we think that people living in the ground, in the villages, they are not intelligent. They are sometimes more intelligent than whatever. How can you come and tell to someone there is no drug, no vaccine, no medicine, nothing, no cure, but go to the hospital? No, this guy say, and this is what we were hearing. Our Red Cross volunteer, for example, in Gekedu, were the first epicenter of the disease in Guinea. The population was saying, how can you tell us that there is no cure and then call us for joining the Ebola treatment center, the ETC of Gekedu? No. And then the population themselves started to find their own way to explain what is happening. It started by thinking that it's about magic or, I don't know, sorcery or whatever. And there are a lot of rumors that, and in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, everywhere, this disease comes with rumor, because there were no communication to give the right information to the communities. Or we did it, if I say we, it's not Red Cross, because I just want to be solidary with all the humanitarian actors and not to accuse someone to have failed in his job. No, but we, government, humanitarian actors, international, we lost it. We did not communicate well.
And in the absence of communication, people had no option but to rely on rumors.
Absolutely. In French, they say la nature a horreur du vide. If there is nothing, there is something, and we'll cover we'll come and take. And the remotes were now explaining what is happening. And the remote, what the remote says. Sometimes it's because someone went to the other side of the border and he stole something, and then from then there is a kind of something done by a marabout, and this is the reason why people are dying. So they need to have 70 people to die, and then the spirit will stop. I'm taking the example because sometime when we came, at that time I remember myself, at a village in Macenta, Forest Guinea, we were explaining to the village that this is Ebola, because look at this as the symptoms, blah, blah, blah. They said, no, this is magic, black magic. And we asked them, what are you going to do? No, we have to wait until 70 people die, and then it will stop. Okay, every day we come, we try to explain them, no, you cannot, people are continuing dying.
So they said in order for it to stop, 70 people would have to die first.
And this is what the magic told them. So when the 70 dies, we come back and we say, okay, but the day we come, there were 71. We explain them, they say maybe they made a mistake in counting. So the day after, 18, because the virus was hitting. And then that day, before even we come, they were calling us, Red Cross, please come and help us, because now we don't understand what is happening. This is not our black magic or whatever. And you see why in our society, we, in order to give information to the community, to sensitize them, to open their mind, we leave them like this. And when there is an emergency like Ebola, they don't have the right information, and we don't have also the right or appropriate tools to communicate with them, because even sometimes you cannot access all what I'm explaining happened during the rainy season. It's sometimes hard to access to, but you cannot even communicate with them by the radio, because the community rural radio was down. They don't have access to information, and you cannot access to them. So the remote was giving them the information, and this is really now we need to make a lot of studies after this epidemic to see all the gaps, all the failure, all the wrong action that have made, but also the right thing. They are success stories, huh?
And before the success stories, these reasons you citing now as a result of this lack of proper, effective communication, there was mistrust between the people and humanitarian organizations, volunteers, officials who go into these rural areas where there was Ebola. And because of some of your people, Red Cross volunteers and staff in particular, were attacked, physically harmed, your vehicles vandalized at some place. Can you tell me about that?
This is something that was maybe the hardest, the most complicated, difficult thing that we Red Cross had to face during this operation. You cannot say, no, I will not go there because I will be wounded. I might be killed even, because sometimes the threat was not just to threaten them. If they could, they did it. In fact, in Wome village in Zerekore, if you remember last year, the end of the year, there is a village where 8 people have been killed by the population, because they thought that these people came to the village to spread the virus. So we Red Cross, we cannot live. We are community members, and our duty, our mandate is to save lives, and we have to continue. It's not a situation that I sincerely regret that can stop us. But the problem also, this happened because of the lack of education. Look at our countries, our African countries. You see, so sometimes they say they invest how many billion in education, but people are just not educated. So the mindset are very, very, very sometimes archaic. I was very, very, very disappointed and frustrated beyond the pain that I had with this virus hitting the community by the level of lack of education in our communities. Ignorance is, oh no, sometimes I was wondering, am I in 2014 or in 1014? No, honestly, it's just incredible. And I think
because of some of the things that people say and some of the actions of the people.
Yeah. So when people are beating the Red Cross, you ask them why. They tell you, no, this Red Cross guy, because they are coming here to spread the virus. Oh, these Red Cross guys, they don't understand what is happening. This is a black magic issue, blah, blah, blah. No, how can you in 2014, in front of a virus, such a dangerous virus like Ebola, have this kind of reaction? This means that our African government, I'm Red Cross, I should not have to talk like this because we are neutral. But honestly, the African states have to invest more in education, in mass education. Just school, more school, teaching people, because we are so vulnerable. Now, tomorrow another virus will come, it will be the same thing. Because people have this mindset that is in the level of the education. You see, in a village, you ask who have been at school, no one. Or if they start, after they have to stay to help the father to farm, blah, blah, blah. And then they grow like this, and they never leave more than 100 kilometers far from the village. So all their knowledge is based on this environment. Until today, you bring a vehicle in a village, just a Hilux or pickup, this common vehicle, but people are running behind, looking at it like it's an engine coming from another planet, This shows how our African community, society, in what level of education they are, and this is really frustrating. And I urge our governments to really look at this side, because we are really vulnerable. We are too vulnerable. This is not the fault of this community. A community has to be educated, and it's a role for someone to educate this community. And those who have to educate them, they have to do their job.
And then I'm talking about currently what is happening now with Liberia being declared Ebola free, but Guinea, where it all started, still cases. Even though the cases are down, there are still cases. What explains this? Why is Ebola still in Guinea?
Because of what I was saying just previously, mainly because of ignorance. Because today the government is doing its utmost. The international organization, humanitarian actors, the Guineans themselves, the journalists, in the beginning, your colleague journalists, they were not aware about this. They were very critical. They were talking about something else. But today, they're all embedded in this fight. This is why we are getting now closer to zero case also in Guinea. But the mobilization was in the hand of the government and the humanitarian actors. One of the key players, without who no success can be expected, was absent. And you know who is this key player? It's the community themselves. These communities that were being traumatized by the virus, they were not involved in the response. Or we started to do it very, very late when the damage was already here. It is, and with Ebola, there is one thing that nobody can contest. It's when the community are on board and part of the fight that the disease will stop, as long as the community are not involved. And this community, now how to involve them? When you are talking about an educated community, it's easy to involve, but if not, it's complicated. And this is what we have faced, and we still facing at least today. It's not because people are more, the level of education is better in Liberia or whatever, no. What I want to say is this is a dimension for Guinea context. Each country has a context specificity. For Liberia, it's because the epidemic was urban. And, as I say, if it's not our activities, our response activity that create awareness among the community so that they take appropriate measure to avoid being in contact with the virus, it's the virus itself that will educate them. Because the virus, when it's come in a village, you just start killing. And at a certain point, the population themselves, they fear. They get fear and they call for help. This is how it works. Either it's our communication that works, which was not the case, or the virus that will create a damage and at a certain level, the population get fear and they leave their reticence and now they call for support. In Liberia, in Montserrat, in the capital, you see what happened. The awareness was just created by this apocalyptic vision that you can have at certain point of the history of this epidemic. And you have also this intervention, this strong intervention, which is not the case in Guinea. Guinea, the methodology we are using is discussion until we get persuasion or to convince someone, but not to force. In Liberia, if you are not applying what you should apply, the military will just come and do the necessary. So, is it the best thing to do? I think every country has its specificity, and for instance, in Guinea, this methodology we are using maybe, but the cases are lower than in the other countries. Even if it started in Guinea, we are 14 months now under the epidemic. But in Guinea, you have something like 3,000. And if you go to Liberia or Sierra Leone, there's 7,000 cases.
Finally, can you see Guinea doing completely away with Ebola, achieving the zero Ebola target anytime soon?
Yeah, today I'm confident. I'm really confident. What I say is that now, the place where we have confined, we have pushed the virus in this small area, and all the arsenal, the means, the materials, the resources we've put in place to control it, I don't see how this virus can escape this time. So I think we are close to zero case in Guinea.
L'actualité depuis plusieurs semaines en Guinée, la fièvre hémorragique Ebola continue à faire des
That was Aliou Boli, the representative of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Guinea. You were listening to our Reflections on Ebola program on West Africa Democracy Radio. This program is part of the Wadr Oxfam Monitoring Ebola Response in West Africa project. From me, Seri Bojang Jr. Thanks for listening and bye-bye.